2.25 you raise to get 295, right? Okay, and so let's look at even like something that's like more familiar, like easier numbers, but still we don't know the answer off the top of our heads, right? Okay, so we can use, let's see, we can go back to this. So we know that we have to find an x value that 2 is raised to equal 9. And we don't really have anything like in our toolbox of operations to come up with that, do we? Okay, so you guys are going to learn a brand new thing to solve for x today. And it's called logarithms. And that's what we talked about at the beginning of class they're going to define today. So I have little note sheets for all of you to keep yourselves organized, and we're going to fill these out together. And we'll come back to our question after we have more skills to work on. So we will solve that later. So what we want to look at first, okay, so we want to put our notation up there first. So I want you guys to fill out this box. Okay, so log B A equals x. Okay, so this is this new notation or this new operation that we're going to use to solve for our exponents. So this is what the notation looks like. So it's logarithms, and we're going to shorten it down to log b base b of a equals x. So I want you guys to just write this down at first, and we're going to break it down so you guys can understand it. Okay, so up here, we're going to read this notation in a certain way, like this can be read as a sentence. So I want you guys to write this down too. So this is going to be read as log base b of a is x. So you guys all write this down on the paper. Okay, and then we talked about this a few times. We are answering a question when we use the log. I've said it a few times. Anyone remember what we're trying to answer when we are using logs? Like back to our previous example, with 3 to the x equals 9. Like, what can 3 be raised to equal 9, right? So what exponent raises 3 to 9, right? Does that sound familiar to what I just said? Okay. So we'll write this down here. So what exponent is required to go from a base of b to reach a value of a. So we're looking at our new notation. So we're saying, or if we had an exponent here. So let's say we had like 3 to the x equals 9, like we just talked about. So we're saying what exponent, x is our exponent, what exponent is required to go from a base of b, 3, to reach a value of a, which is our 9. So we kind of use this one, but I want to go back and identify the parts for you guys. So we already said that x is our exponent, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we have x equal to an exponent. And we'll start with an easy one. What is our answer? 2. Well, yeah, so the correct answer for when you're solving for x is 2. That's correct. But in this case, what we're trying to solve is that answer of 9. And so that leaves 3 to be our base, right? If we have the 3 parts that we were talking about. So then we'll go back here. So we can fill in the bottom half of our equation with what we just talked about here. So in general, we have base to the exponent equals answer, right? So I want you guys to pick out 3 different colors. I have a bunch of different markers. I'm going to color code our note sheets here. So each person pick out 3 different colors. Is there a second marker? Yeah. Ooh. Pretty awesome. Okay, so we all have colors? Okay, so we are going to identify our exponential form that we've seen in previous units. We've worked with these many times. So I'm going to use red for base. You guys can pick whatever color you want to match. So base, we're just going to write out the word base to the exponent. I'm going to use green. And then I'll use blue for answer. Okay. So in order to use log, we're going to have to have a trick, kind of, or a process, how we get it from exponential form to logarithmic form, and vice versa. So what we want to look at is how we can rewrite this into our logarithmic form. So what we need to do is recognize our base value up here and our exponent and our answer. So we're just going to write it out together, and then we'll look at how to apply it. So follow along when I write this down. So black. Okay, so we're going to follow our notation up here. So we're going to do log, and then our B stands for base. So we're going to use the same color that we used for our base over here. So I used red, so I'm going to do red base. And then answer next, because our A is our answer. And then our green, this is going to be our exponent, which is our x value. Did everybody get their colors right? Oh no. Just do the best you can. I'm sorry, I didn't have better markers. Okay. Good. Is everybody good with that? So we're going to move forward to looking at our 3x to the 9 example. And this is going to be our very first time transforming an exponential function into a logarithmic function. And now we each have our handy-dandy color-coded note sheets to help us do that, okay? So we're going to look at, so we're starting in our bottom left corner, right? So we have our 3 components that we identified. So we have our base to the exponent equals answer. So we have, we can, if you guys want to write on the back of this, we can write this example down. So we can write out 3 to the x equals 9, and if you want to color code it, you can, if that helps you. Okay, so what we need to do is write out the log form. Okay. So note sheet, can anyone tell me what the first thing we write down is from exponential to logarithmic?
Log.
Good. So I do a fancy L, don't have to, but it just kind of differentiates it from like the word log, but that's usually how it's written, so we'll go with that. So then what's our next component going to be? Just the word.
Base.
Good. So what is our base that we identified over here?
3.
Good. So we have a 3 down here, and then following along, what's next?
9.
Answer, which is 9. Thank you. And then, what is that going to equal? Good. So now, what do you notice? We have an equation where x equals something. So we can solve for it. We don't know how yet. We don't know how we use our log function to solve for x. But we know that we can rewrite this equation and get our x value in some form, right? So that will come in later lessons when we solve, but we need to work on this process of going from exponential to logarithmic, okay? So I'm going to work on that. I have another note sheet for us. So for this worksheet, we're going to ignore the left-hand side. That's going to come tomorrow in the next unit. And we're just going to look at the logarithmic loop trick. So if it helps you to fold it over, that's fine. Or you can just ignore the one side. So we just done first time going from exponential to logarithmic form. So we're going to give you guys a little trick to help us do this process, okay? So what we want to do is, okay, so it says always draw your loop counterclockwise from the base. So I'm going to walk us through how to do this. So we start at the base of our log function, okay? And then can anyone tell me which way would be counterclockwise? Would I be going this way? Or
No, the other one.
this way? Good. Okay, so we're going to take our base and we're going to move it counterclockwise like this. So what it's going to be is, your base is, this is number 1 to number 2 to number 3. Okay, and then the same thing is taking it the other way. So we're going to go from our base to loop trick. And we're going to do examples. So if this is looking really confusing to you, just follow with me for 1 second and we're going to do some examples together, okay? Okay, so then this is our trick. So we're going to always start at our base, B, and move counterclockwise around. So let's look at another example. We'll do, how do you extend the page? Oh, perfect. Oh, now that moves. Okay, I'll just do it right here. Okay, so we're going to do log, you guys can just write this right on your sheet. Log base 4 of 64 is x. Practicing that sentence that we just talked about. Okay, so we're going to start with our base, 64. So this is going to be the first thing we write down. The x is going to be the second thing we write down, and the 64 is going to be the third thing we write down. So I'm just going to model this for you guys first, and then we'll do the second one together. So we're going to write our 4 down first in our base position, and then we're going to write down our x equals 64. So we're going to start with our base, which is 4, write it down first in the first position of our exponential, and then the second one in our loop is the x, so we're going to write down our x, and then step 3 is write down our answer, which is 64. Does everybody see that? Okay, let's do another one. Since we're not using this side, I'll just write over here. So this time, let's do log base 5 of 10 equals x. So how do we do this one first? Where do we start?
We start with our base.
And what number is that?
5.
Good, so here's, our base is always in the same place in logs. And then we're gonna go draw our counterclockwise circle, right? And if it helps, we can put our numbers. Okay, so then what will our first value be? 5 to,
The x power.
yep, equals
10.
Good. Okay, and then this loop trick works the other way too. So it works from what we were doing before. So let's do 343 to the x equals 7. We'll start with this one. So where is our base in this, using this loop trick? Where is our b? What's our b value in this?
343.
Good. So we start with our base and go around like this. So we're going to start with the first thing, second thing, third thing. So I'll model this one for you guys first, and then we can do another one together. Oh, this kind of going to leave it. Okay, so then we're going to always write down log first if we're going from exponential to log. And then, what's our next value? What's our base? Yeah,
343.
good, 343. And then, what's our second value based on the loop trick?
7.
Good. And then equals x. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. So, should we do one more example? Are you guys feeling comfortable? Yes? Okay. So, I'm just going to write it. Are you guys okay if I write it all the way up here?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we'll do 10 to the x equals 150. So, where do we start our loop?
That's a 10.
Good. And then we're going to draw it all the way around to the x. And then our number 1 is 10, our number 2 is 150, and our third value is x, right? So what do we write out first? Log, correct. So log base,
10.
good. What's our next value, our second value that we write down?
150.
Good. Equals,
X.
good. Okay, so hopefully you guys wrote down these examples on the back of your page, because we'll be needing it when we shift gears and practice our new skill in a game. So this is called the concentration game. And I want you guys to just get into 2 groups, so we'll just split down the table like this, okay? And I have note cards for you. And if you guys remember like when you were younger, like the matching game, when you have, you know, like
Memory?
yeah, the memory game. Like one that I play with the little girl I babysit is all princesses. So you just match princesses, and some of them are flowers and jewelry and like a prince, and you match them. So I think we all know how to play, but I'll